10:50 Toronto and the team 14:10 in Vancouver. We're just about a week away from UFC 170. That is coming up next Saturday night, February 22nd, from the Mandalay Bay Event Center in Las Vegas. The prelims will be kicking off at 8 Eastern on Fox Sports 1 and Sportsnet 360. And headlining those preliminary fights is going to be a bantamweight bout with Jessica Eye taking on our guest at this time, Port Colborne native herself, Alexis Davis, who is with us on the show. Alexis, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm just getting out of my last week of training and just trying to push myself and getting things done, and I'm feeling really good.
Did you stay in California for this training camp? Did you travel anywhere? How did this camp kind of compare to maybe your last two outings that we've seen with you over the past year with the UFC?
No, I stayed out in California for this one, training under the same academies as I have before, along with Combat Sports Academy, doing my stand-up and my wrestling, and doing my jiu-jitsu at the Institute of Martial Arts under Kayota. Actually, that's where my husband is the head instructor there. But, really pushing myself, really trying to utilize and capitalize on my skill sets and, being able to push this fight forward. I feel really good. I feel good going into the fight.
I was in Winnipeg ahead of your UFC debut with Rosie Sexton, and you seem to be, really just taking it all in of being part of a big UFC fight week. Now that this is your third fight in the UFC, is it more comfortable now going into a fight week, and kind of what comes with fighting at this stage here with the UFC? Do you kind of feel comfortable now here as a UFC fighter?
I do, especially even going into my last fight. I felt a lot more comfortable, kind of shook off those, first UFC pre-fight jitters. But I feel really good, I kind of have everything almost down to a science now, along with my training camp, my weight cut, and, knowing when my highs are low, and just it's all about trying to stay in a sound mind.
It's interesting you mentioned being as comfortable as you were against Liz Carmouche, because fighting on the Fight for the Troops card, I mean, such a different atmosphere than your typical UFC card. What was it any different for you fighting there in a base in front of the troops? Obviously, much different, I'm sure, than any other of your fights.
It was totally a different experience for me. I've never kind of been in that type of atmosphere, and it was incredible, I have to tell you. Like being out and being able to help and support the troops, and they weren't, obviously, Liz being a ex-Marine, but they were just there to see fights, and they didn't care who won or who lost. They just wanted to be entertained. They were, they work hard, and they go through a lot, and they're just looking, to enjoy themselves, have a good time, and watch some good fights. And I think that we really did that with that fight.
It was such an interesting scenario at UFC 161. I mean, you made your professional debut right down the street from the MTS Center against Sarah Kaufman, and here you're coming back that many years later, 6 years later, here fighting for the UFC, and as luck would have it, Sarah Kaufman was in the building that very night. It had to have been really interesting for you just returning to Winnipeg and on such a different platform than that first fight.
Yeah, you know what? It felt really good. It was my first time fighting back in Canada in a long time, and I love to go back home, and I love the support that I get from the fans, and, it's just a great environment for me to be in. I wish, I wasn't so nervous and whatnot, but how can you expect anything else? Being at the UFC, it's such, a huge promotion and the main stage, but I feel really good. It was my debut, returning to Canada. I'm happy. I'm happy with the way it turned out.
With the females, or at least taking up half of the house on The Ultimate Fighter, were you happy with the way you came into the UFC going that direction? Obviously, the women on Tough, you get to expose those personalities on a weekly basis and kind of have that momentum coming into the UFC. Did you, when you heard that they were going to be doing that season of The Ultimate Fighter, was that something you wished you were a part of, or the way things worked out for you are kind of you can't really complain with the results thus far for yourself?
Yeah, I can't really complain. It comes with both, good and bad. So, part of me, the amount of exposure you get and, the attention that, obviously that grows with you being on, obviously, the show every single week. and people really start to know you, and that's how you create a fan base. Is people want to know not just the fighter, they want to know what's behind the fighter, and what drives them. But on the other side, being stuck in a house for so many weeks with everybody's trying to cut weight every couple weeks, and it's got to be a huge mental game, and it exposes a lot of your talents as well too, and even to your future opponents. So that's something you almost kind of expose every time you fight, but you kind of develop and you change as you grow, and it was both good and bad.
Now, over this past week, as you're kind of just dialing in here, closing down your kind of hard preparation here for Jessica Eye, Jessica's been all over the news, and it really hasn't been about the fight, but rather her last fight and what's come out of that. Was there a part for you where you were somewhat taken back here, just wondering, man, is something going to happen to our fight, that this issue from last year is going to have some impact? Was it distracting for you at all?
It wasn't too much. I did have, a couple of days when it was first released, where I was kind of, I was like, what's going to happen? Is our fight going to be canceled? Am I going to get a new opponent? Are they going to let her fight? But, it wasn't long after that I got assurance. They said, no, the fight's still going on, and, everything should be a go. So, and I kind of took that sigh as relief, and I know it's still, even now, it's still kind of going on, still getting, a lot of attention, but I just, it doesn't matter to me. The fight's going to happen, and that's what I got to stay focused on.
Do you think that, I mean, you look at how this story has just unfolded, like it seems that this was an issue that really could have been, over and done with in a pretty quick period, and Jessica is, the Texas Commission has come out with all of this. It seems that, she was less than honest in some of these interviews, and it's kind of taken on a life of its own, kind of just from how she's handled the whole thing, and it's kind of overshadowed her fight with you, I think.
Yeah, it's got to add a lot of extra pressure on her. I have to admit, hopefully she stays focused in her camp. I don't, really know who, is in charge of her public relations or how or why they kind of try to play it out like that. But, eventually, it will blow over, and, when it comes to, I imagine the 22nd, she's going to come out there and she's still going to come swinging.
Now, you two are in a very unique position here at the pay-per-view. The card is headlined by Ronda Rousey and Sarah McMahon. A lot of people kind of, I think, were surprised that, of these women, why wasn't Alexis Davis fighting for the title? Did you feel that way at first? You were there in Vegas at 168 when they made the announcement, and you had been public that you felt you were ready for this title fight, and it's kind of hard to make that argument against it.
Yeah, you know what? I obviously was kind of disappointed, and was pushing the fight, and I wanted to fight, and it's like, what are you going to do?
Right.
Obviously, they have their own reasons for whatever they want to do, but I'm going to try to look at it into a positive way, a positive perspective. That I just keep feeling like I'm getting better and better with every fight. Every time I seem to grow, and, the longer they make me wait, it's only going to make it worse for, whoever has the title at the time.
Now, the kind of silver lining to all that, Alexis, is the fact that you on this card putting in a tremendous performance. I mean, that automatically, I think, really makes a giant statement that by the end of the night, that whoever comes out of that main event, it seems that you make a great case to be that next challenger, rather than, say, if you were on this card in Brazil on Saturday night and you're a week removed from that. I think that you have the opportunity here to make an emphatic statement here that this should be the next contender coming out of this fight.
Yeah, well, I kind of hope so. I was kind of hoping so after the last fight. But you take it as they come, and I kind of feel like that's going to be the little extra pressure, is like they want to see a great performance. They want to see a dynamic, win. They want to see the crowd on their feet. It's the crowd. They want to see, Alexis Davis fight for the title, and that's what I'm going to have to show.
Now, going back to Jessica's debut back in Houston, she was against, a common opponent with yours, and Sarah Kaufman. What impressed you with Jessica's performance in that particular fight? And did you think that she won that fight? Because it was certainly the source of debate coming out of that card in Houston.
Yeah, it was a very close fight. I would hate to be a judge during that card, but I was actually really impressed the way, and man, Sarah Kaufman, she's no joke.
No.
She's a previous champion. It takes, it takes a lot to beat or even capitalize on Sarah. So regardless, you have to give, whether you think she won or lost, you have to give props to her. She was able to play her game. Third round, definitely Sarah had the upper hand, and I was worried for herself that she was going to kind of take Jessica, and, I was looking for that knockout. But, you know what? It kind of puts things in perspective for me as well, because obviously coming off of losses at the top of my own, it's a huge kind of game changer, the way you have to play things out. And, I'm really, really kind of pushing myself, and even looking at the way that she fought with Kaufman to the way that she's going to fight me.
Should you be victorious on Saturday and you get some microphone time with Joe Rogan, are you going to formally issue a challenge to the winner? Do you feel you have to be vocal here, saying, I want this title fight, I deserve this? I mean, with 3 wins in the UFC, I think that you clearly make that case pretty loud and clear on Saturday with a win.
I know. You know what? I have to. I come off with the victory. I got to be more vocal. I'm too much of that, timid, nice Canadian, sit this side and just hopefully it comes to me. But, it's in this sport, though. You got to push. You got to push yourself out there. You got to stand up and be like, this is where I should be. This is how Ronda got there. Sometimes it's that little extra that kind of gets you to where you need to be.
Do you feel a large part of Sarah McMahon getting this fight is the fact that she does have this Olympian versus Olympian storyline you have going in while the Winter Olympics are going on? Do you think that kind of promotion is a large part of why they did opt to go with Sarah McMahon? Because, I mean, let's be honest, she's had one fight in the UFC, and, against Sheila Gaff, I think you match the two of you together. I mean, it's a hard argument to make for Sarah getting that fight.
Yeah, that's what I felt as well. I felt it was, big how they were going to play it out. Good storyline. The Olympics are going on right now. People are interested in it, and what better way to sell a fight during the Olympics to have 2 Olympians fighting? So, I kind of understand from, almost media-wise why they did it, to sell it, to sell the fight. Obviously I'm still going to be disappointed in it, but take it as they come.
Where are your allegiances during the Winter Olympics, Alexis? Are you still Canadian to the core? Have the Americans infiltrated your sports backing at this point during the Olympics?
Oh no, I'm still Canadian to the core. It was funny the other day. Well, not yesterday, but I think it was about the day before. I'm like, you know what? Canadians, we're in the lead. We're in the lead for medals. I got to tell all my American friends. But totally. Allegiance to the Canadians for the Olympics, and it's the Winter Olympics. Come on.
Well,
we got this.
Well, I'm no promoter, Alexis, but I think that, right during this Olympic season, had we had Ronda Rousey, USA versus Canada for the gold, I think would have had a very nice ring to it. We look forward to your fight with Jessica Ai. Next Saturday, the prelims are 8 Eastern, Sportsnet 360 in Canada, Fox Sports 1 in the U.S. And Alexis, I hope we get the big call out at the end of the fight and leave no option but to give Alexis Davis that next bantamweight title shot. And all the best as you wrap up camp and head into Las Vegas. We'll be watching, and all the best against Jessica Ai.
Hey, thank you so much.
A big thank you to Alexis Davis for stopping by. You can catch her in action next